Will you hold a hearing for Judge Merrick Garland?
No.
I ask that they confirm Merrick Garland now to the Supreme Court. He is the right man for the job.
Who's next?
It's stimulating conversation with Dublin's very own conservative leprechaun, Sean Hannity. Call and be Hannitized.
Top of the morning to ya, you coward.
Sean Hannity.
Sean Hannity, be back with you. A bit of whiskey today. Yes, indeed. Why are you laughing in there? Is that a horrible? It's not that bad. Anyway, so we got the president, and of course he nominates Merrick Garland to replace the late Antonin Scalia on the Supreme Court. It's turning into a major political battle. Some headlines today: GOP Supreme Court blockade showing early cracks, as Senator Kelly Ayotte and others are saying, well, maybe we can have hearings on him, even though Mitch McConnell and Charles Grassley are invoking the Biden rule. I cited all of that to you yesterday on the program, the statements of Biden. Oh, we shouldn't do it in an election year like this. Well, that, of course, is when there was a Republican president. So considering it's the Biden rule and good for the Democrats, I cite it as good for Republicans as well. Anyway, here to give you some more insight than I have given you on who. What can you tell us, Jay?
Happy St. Patty's Day.
Yeah, you got a nominee that would not have been the nominee if President Obama was in his second year of his second term, because there was no way that he would have nominated Merrick Garland for two reasons. Number one, he is sided with the government multiple times on the issues involving Guantanamo Bay, and that's why you are seeing the left not so happy about this nomination. Number two, he's a bit of a centrist. Now, he's not a conservative, and I think we've got to be clear here. This is not somebody that would be on the Republican shortlist to replace Justice Antonin Scalia. And the other aspect of this is the replacement of Justice Antonin Scalia. So while the judge is a nice guy and he's very intelligent and bright and has a good judicial temperament, we have got to make sure that the Senate fulfills its obligation, and their obligation here is to say no. Because not only because that's what the Democrats would do, but we are 7 months away from a general election for the presidency of the United States. So the idea that President Obama would replace Justice Scalia with Judge Garland, it's just, to me, I understand why he did it. He's the president of the United States. Sean, look, the Constitution gives him the authority to nominate, but not appoint. And let me just add one thing very, very quickly here. I was speaking with some lawyers yesterday, and they think, well, the president has the right to do this. He has the right to nominate. But the problem is, James Madison wanted the advice and consent clause to actually work differently. He thought that the president should be able to appoint, and then the Senate would have a period of days, 3 days, in which they could override that appointment with 2/3 votes. And the Founding Fathers rejected that so that the Senate would have a co-equal right here, and that co-equal right is advice and consent. And here's the advice: no hearing.
Well, here we go again with the constitutional analysis of an issue that's much bigger than Merrick Garland, Sean. This is about the Republican Party taking the bait from President Obama and walking down that plank with Mitch McConnell saying, hey, we're not going to have any hearings whatsoever. We also had another Republican senator saying, oh, Garland would be like a human piñata if he went through a review and vetting process. Now, you tell me if that is not a dagger.
Well, let me ask you this, because this is what Mitch McConnell said. He said that Obama should not follow the practice of a majority of his predecessors and name a nominee until after the election is complete.
Now,
what?
Sean, times have changed. It's no longer about, okay, what did Obama do 3 years ago with Alito?
Well, hang on a second.
15 years ago?
Well, hang on. Let me finish this statement. And then he said, this is what he said.
What's changed, Sean, because 60% of people in a poll last night wanted to have a vetting process of Garland.
Okay, Brian, I don't care about your poll.
Not even the rule.
I'm just giving you what what McConnell said, that President Obama should consider following the practice of a majority of his predecessors and not name the nominee until after the election is completed. And he went further. He said the process that is already in doubt in the minds of many will be distrusted by all, and Senate consideration of the nominee under these circumstances is not fair to the president, to the nominee, or the Senate. And then he went on to say that if, in fact, the president insists on this, he and Charles Grassley said the Senate judiciary should not schedule confirmation hearings on the nomination until after the political campaign season is over. What is wrong with what Mitch McConnell said?
What's wrong with that is that the majority of people in this country want to see Congress doing work, trying to work together to make this a better country. People, average folks, Sean, like me and everybody else out in the world who work hard every day, and like yourself, are fed up.
So wait a minute, So you're telling me you think it's too political?
It's way too political.
All right, hang on. Wait. I just made a huge mistake. Oh, Mitch McConnell didn't say that.
Should a justice resign this summer and the president move to name a successor, actions that will occur just days before the Democratic presidential convention and weeks before the Republican convention meets, a process that is already in doubt in the minds of many, will become distrusted by all. Senate consideration of a nominee under these circumstances is not fair to the president, to the nominee, or to the Senate itself. Mr. President, where the nation should be treated to a consideration of constitutional philosophy, all it will get in such circumstances is a partisan bickering and political posturing from both parties and from both ends of Pennsylvania Avenue. As a result, it is my view that if a Supreme Court justice resigns tomorrow or within the next several weeks, or resigns at the end of the summer, President Bush should consider following the practice of a majority of his predecessors and not name a nominee until after the November election is completed.
So you're saying all that about Joe Biden? That's really mean of you, Brian. I think, you're saying Joe Biden is a political hack, and all the Republicans, Jay Sekulow, are doing is saying what Joe Biden said.
They're saying what Joe Biden said, and saying also what the Constitution says. And the Constitution gives it, the president, remember, the president was one of the people filibustering Sam Alito. So, it's not its payback. It's constitutional. The Senate is not a rubber stamp here. And Joe Biden, frankly, look, could you imagine, I don't believe Brian would be arguing if we were back in President Bush's time and 7 months before a general election for the presidency of the United States, and as Joe Biden said, just weeks before the conventions of the parties, months before the convention of the party, that there were to be a vacancy, that Brian would be arguing here, of course President Bush should appoint and they should have hearings and do confirmation.
Jay, we live in a different time.
Hang on. Joe Biden is so ancient.
The problem is the Constitution doesn't
Joe Biden was irresponsible in making that comment. That was an irresponsible comment by Joe Biden.
You know what, Brian? But what is the Constitution? That's a real simple question.
We're not talking about the Constitution. We're talking about the majority of people in this country.
We should always be talking about the Constitution. We got Justice Scalia rolling over in his grave right now.
Playground politics.
Hey, Brian, do you believe that the Senate has the right?
Highway or the highway? That's what Mitch McConnell said.
How about what the Constitution says? Brian, do you acknowledge that the Constitution gives the Senate the authority to advise and consent, which means they can hold no hearings?
Look, I can't even answer. Look, I can't even answer that question. And guess what? 99% of the public who are voting can't answer that question either.
Well, Joe Biden answered it.
Oh, come on.
They don't care.
You know what the answer is. Of course the answer is, of course they don't have to have hearings.
It doesn't matter, Jay. People don't trust our government. The Republican
so they don't trust our government. So let's ramrod through in the last 5 months of a presidency a Supreme Court justice that's a life appointment who happens to be replacing Antonin Scalia. Please. You don't
engender trust with the public by saying Garland would be a human pinata and by saying we're not going to exercise due process and even have a hearing on it.
Hold it. I mean, Garland's not entitled, with due respect, and I've been before Judge Garland. He's not entitled
How
to due process here.
Is it of the United States to not have a Supreme Court justice
He's entitled to no process.
On a 9-court
The Senate decides whether they're going to hear it or not.
For a year and a half. We could go another year and a half without a Supreme Court justice. How irresponsible is that of our
How many times has that happened?
I don't know. Let's ask Joe Biden, because Joe Biden and the Democrats had no problem advancing that argument, did they?
That's because, Sean, we had these situations with 8 members of the court before, and guess what?
Sean,
the public continues.
Sean, that's my whole point, though. He's wrong, too. Biden's wrong. Both parties.
No, you're only saying it because, that was not your message earlier. You said times had changed. And then when I played the tape, Biden's wrong. So you're kind of changing your opinion here.
No,
and the reason is what you were saying when you thought I was quoting McConnell is that it's politicized. Okay, I'll even concede the point. Yes, it's politicized, and the people that started politicizing it are Obama, who filibustered. Let me finish. Justice Alito. Obama, who voted against John Roberts, who he said was infinitely qualified for the job, and now you don't like it that it's fair play in return. Now, I'm sorry, you can't have it both ways. It's either good for the Democrats, then it's good for the Republicans, or it's not good for the Democrats because they've done it. and then it's not good for the Republicans. So you can't have it all ways.
Here's my quick comment to that, Sean. You're exactly right. Okay, I'll give you the benefit. Let's say Obama politicized this by nominating Garland. My point is this. We're on the eve of a general election in November. It's much like like a basketball game where two players are fighting. Like I watched the game last night. I'm a Clippers fan. Chris Paul hits Dwight Howard's
I'm sorry to hear that, by the way.
See that. Howard hits Paul back, or Paul hits Howard back. The ref calls the technical foul on Paul. Obama made the first foul by politicizing this, and the Republicans, what do? They make the second foul by not even having a hearing, and that could be detrimental come general election time because they were the last one
completely consistent with the United States Constitution, Sean. At the end of the day, that's the governing doctrine here, and the governing document, not, well, times have changed. Because you know what?
Jay, people don't care about the governing document. They don't trust the government. They want to trust.
So you think they're going to trust the government?
All right, let me ask another question because we're running out of time.
Yeah.
What is so bad about the American people being fully conscious and aware that the next president will get to appoint the open Supreme Court nominee slot? In other words, why not let the people decide who they would like to make that decision, considering the court and its balance? Court hangs literally ideologically in the balance. Why not let the people decide?
Because John.
Because you don't want the people to decide. Okay.
Exactly.
John Kasich said in his speech after he won the Ohio primary, he actually made a great speech, Sean. You know what he said? Hey, for all those nurses out there that are working extra hours to help people.
What does that have to do with my question?
Teachers,
what do the nurses have to do with my... Wait, you not answer my question. Why not let the people decide with their votes in this election coming up? Let them decide.
No average folk can relate to Congress.
Oh, people are stupid. The people are dumb. Wait a minute, Jay, did you hear that? People are stupid.
Yeah.
Only elites like...
Smart enough to figure out that
people are stupid.
The balance, and that might affect their general election.
Politicians
are President of the United States.
People are.
Please.
The average folk
let's give the American people a little bit more credit. Here's what it is. The Supreme Court is now an issue in the presidential campaign. Republicans will have it as an issue. Democrats are going to have it as an issue. If the country elects a Democrat, it'll be a nominee from the Democratic side. If the Republicans if the Republicans win the election, it will be a Republican nominee. That's the way the system works. That's the way the founders designed the Constitution. Yeah. That's the deal. And things don't get to change just because you don't like the fact that the Democrats may not be in authority or in power in, say, 10 months.
All right, I gotta let it go there.
Thanks, Sean.
Appreciate you both being with us.
You bet.
800-941-SEAN is our number. We'll get to your